Parents will do anything for their child's happiness. But as we all know, life can get in the way. The Fisher family from Utah did everything they could to ensure their daughter's dreams would come true. But at a certain point, it was simply out of their hands. They waited patiently for 2 years to learn the news that would either be their daughter's biggest wish or tear her life apart. When their daughter did finally receive the news, the world couldn't stop talking about her reaction. They couldn't even wait until she got out of school to tell her. Hello, story lovers. I'm Scott Leffler, and here is Daughter Receives News from Parents That Brings Her to Tears. Before we move on, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notifications bell for new amazing videos. Jen and Jeff Fisher of South Jordan, Utah were a lovely couple with 2 kids who would soon be faced with a life-changing decision. Not only would it change the dynamics of the family that they already had, but it would also alter the lives of 3 young children that came into their home. Of course, the decision in question was one of adoption, but it would turn out that the process was anything but seamless. The Fishers already had 2 children and one of their own, 13-year-old Aiden and 10-year-old Macy. However, any hopes of expanding their family didn't seem to be in the cards. My husband and I had a lot of infertility problems, and we had wanted more, Jen told ABC News. The Fishers decided to look at other options and were introduced to the foster system. It was through foster care that they'd meet 3 kids who would change everything. A social worker who worked with the foster system introduced the Fishers to an 11-year-old girl named Tana Butterfield. She and her 2 young siblings lost their parents and no longer had a home of their own. Tana wanted nothing more than a family of her own. As is typical with the foster system, siblings are at risk of being separated from each other and sent off to different homes. But that's when the Fishers did something extraordinary. Tana would find a family with the Fishers, and at school, as you'll soon see. The Fishers welcomed Tana and her siblings, 6-year-old Tegan and 2-year-old Tally, into their home. It was an incredibly gracious gesture, especially since some foster families won't accept siblings together due to their age differences. When Tana and her siblings set foot in the Fisher household for the first time, the transition couldn't have been easier. They got along with Aiden and Macy as if they'd known each other their whole lives. It wasn't certain that Tana and her siblings would be staying with the Fishers for long. Still, Tana began attending middle school at a private school called American Heritage of South Jordan. She easily made friends with her classmates and even forged relationships with the school's faculty and staff. Kids in the foster system don't always open up in new schools, especially since they risk having to leave at a moment's notice. Tana found an instant connection with one of the school administrators, office manager Jackie Alexander. Tana stopped by Miss Jackie's desk regularly to say hello and talk about her day. Of course, Miss Jackie knew all about Tana's circumstances at home and was close to Tana's foster mom, Jen. Our school is small enough to where we get to know the families well. I was aware of the situation, Jackie told Daily Advertiser. It was Miss Jackie who supported the Fishers when they decided to make an important decision. Despite Tana's sunny disposition about her current situation, the adults in her life were concerned about breaking her heart. They know that not all foster children are as lucky as Tana and her siblings were at that moment. A majority of kids in foster care don't stay in assigned homes for more than a year and often float around until they age out of the system. This is especially the case for siblings who often end up separated. Luckily for Tana, Tegan, and Tally, they were able to stay with the Fisher family for a whole 2 years. At that point, Jeff and Jen Fisher decided they wanted to adopt the 3 kiddos that they'd come to love as their own. But adopting Tana and her siblings turned out to be a long and frustrating process. The Fishers wanted the 3 kids to have security before the foster system took them somewhere else. The Fishers were anxious to see if the judge would approve the adoption. Jen went to court and thought she would get the kids, but she didn't. I told her to hold on, to keep fighting the good fight, and that it's going to be okay, Miss Jackie told the Daily Advertiser. All the Fishers and Tana could do was wait as patiently as they could, but it was hard to, considering the system could have taken her back at any moment. This wasn't the only role Miss Jackie would play in Tana's adoption. The Butterfield siblings became part of the family within the 2 years that they stayed at the Fishers, but Jen and Jeff Fisher technically didn't have parental rights, which meant that a social worker could drop by at any moment and deliver some bad news. Considering how long Tana and her siblings had been with the Fishers, it would have been very hard on everyone to have to leave a life that they'd grown so accustomed to. Finally, one morning in October 2017, a judge reached a decision in the case of the Butterfield siblings. The judge ruled that Tana, Tegan, and Tally would officially become members of the Fisher family. Jen and Jeff Fisher were thrilled and couldn't wait to let Tana know. Tana was kind of stressed that day and wanted to know what happened in court the minute we got done. Jeff explained to My U-Haul story. As much as Jeff and Jen wanted to tell Tana the good news, it was a school day when they found out. Still, they couldn't keep the news to themselves, and they called the school to tell Miss Jackie. I got a call from Jen, and she told me that they got the kids. She said, "I know Tana comes to your desk, and I want you to be the one to tell her," Miss Jackie explained to the Daily Advertiser. Miss Jackie was excited to deliver the news, especially after what happened the night before, as you'll soon see. I said, "Are you sure? This is big news." Jen said, "No, I know she loves you. Go ahead and tell her. She gets to be adopted." So I did, Miss Jackie said. Later that day, Tana stopped by the school office to see Miss Jackie. I grabbed her by the shoulders and I said, "Hey baby, have you heard the news? Do you know? Sweetheart, you get your forever family. Today's the day," Miss Jackie recalled. At that moment, Tana leaped into Miss Jackie's arms. She was elated to hear that she and her siblings had finally been adopted. The heartwarming moment was captured on the school security cameras, and when Miss Jackie saw the footage, she knew she couldn't keep it to herself. Later that day, she posted the clip on her Instagram page. It wasn't long before the clip went viral. Miss Jackie didn't see it coming. Miss Jackie had a very good reason for sharing such a personal moment online. Tana's good news came the day after the tragic massacre that occurred at the Route 91 Harvest Festival in Las Vegas, Nevada. Miss Jackie was sad on her way to work that day. It's so horrible to see more tragedy in the world. We wake up to fires, shootings, earthquakes, but we have to remember there is still good in this world, she said. Considering what had just happened, it was totally unexpected that this would go viral. But Jeff Fisher thinks there's a pretty good reason why, coming up. Tana wouldn't let go of Miss Jackie when she heard the news. She just kept hugging the bearer of good news tighter and tighter. "In 12 years at this job, this is by far my best moment ever," Miss Jackie wrote. "Everything Tana was feeling came right through me. You don't get to tell someone every day that they get a family." Her reaction was so authentic and priceless and sweet, Miss Jackie told the Daily Advertiser. Tana could hardly contain herself. "This is the biggest thing that's ever happened to me. My heart was so happy. I was like, ah, I was screaming," she told KUTV. "They're just caring, loving. They take really good care of me," Tana said of her new parents. She also wanted people to know that if you believe something long enough, it just might come true. "Never, ever give up," she added. Well, the Fisher family was celebrating over their good news. They didn't expect for the video of Tana and Miss Jackie to go viral, but they were pleased to know that their special moment helped warm the hearts of people around the world. It was a crazy week or so, doing media interviews for local stations and national networks. We understand people want to see our happy story and see something positive, Jeff Fisher told My U-Haul story. As all the hoopla around the story was going on, the Fishers were mostly relieved that the arduous adoption process was finally over. What they thought would be a simple application turned out to be 2 years of legal setbacks. In the long run, it seems like it was all a blessing. "We've treated the kids as if they were part of our family from the get-go. We try to be like any other family," Jeff said. Jeff's co-workers kindly set up a crowdfunding account to help the Fisher family work through all the legal bills they racked up. The family surpassed their goal and even had enough to treat the kids to a celebratory vacation. "We really wanted the kids to be a part of our family. It might take a long time, but just stick with it and it'll be worth it. Jen Fisher told KSL.com. Did you like the story? Check out our channel for more.